Good morning and welcome to Crusher Trading Live for March 6, 2025. Absolutely crushed it yesterday on a great trade with Tesla and Apple. And we're going to get into those trades here in just a second. We're also going to talk about what we have cooking for today. So let's start with Apple, the trade I took yesterday. I've been talking about this one here for just a couple days now. The fact that we're trying to break the 100-day. And I thought, once we break this, I was going to take this to the downside. And you can see on the 1 hour here, I always talk about the fact that when you break the 100, you have a really good chance of getting down to the 200-day. And you can see we did break it back on January 6th. Gotta fix the speaker there. We did break it on January 16th. I retested the 20 for a move to the downside, and we hit the 20. We had a couple of attempts here earlier on. We didn't quite get there, and I don't know if we'll get there again, but we'll see what happens here on Apple. But basically, what I did, I'll get into this trade here right now, is waiting for the break here, and here's the 5. Let me open this up here for you. We were in the pre-market. We were playing with the 100-day. We had been playing with it for the last couple of days here too. So I've just been waiting for that break. And I had the previous day low in here, and that was it. So I just waited for movement to the downside. I wanted a little bit better of a retest, but I did end up taking a starter here, and then I did get a little bit of a pullback. I added to the position, and the target was, let me go back up to the hourly here, but I had this target here at 229-ish roughly, and that is it right here. Now if I go to the daily over here, back on, what date was this? January 13th roughly. I put my target in there. We have a couple touches in here. We had this touch here from a couple days ago. So I got 2 touches here. So I made that my target. I wanted to get down to the gap zone if we could get in there. We'll see what happens. But that was it. That was my trade for Apple. Very productive trade. And like I said, it's something I've been planning for a couple days here. So I don't know. Today, going into Apple, we'll just see what happens. It's not going to be number one on my watch list. My play is already over on it. But we'll see, if we get some kind of break and retest, if there's nothing else playing, or if we get a crush it zone trade, we'll take a peek at that. Okay. So that was my Apple trade here. And that was a good, right around, let me see here. The overall move was $4.38 roughly on that. Second move I took was on Tesla. And you can see I've been working Tesla for the last few weeks, almost a month. I had this cup and handle forming here, and I've been playing this. Also, this was a swing trade that I'm out, and I played this down to the 260, 265 level. That was a pretty awesome swing trade here. You can see we had this inverted cup and handle for the move to the downside, and then playing that gap zone yesterday and a couple days ago. We took it a couple days ago also with the break and retest of previous day lows, and then yesterday we had what we had was a typical crush it zone trade, and you can see here in the 5, I got this gap zone marked in here. Let me get rid of this here so it looks a little bit cleaner. No, I got messy charts here, you guys. We're outside the Bollinger Bands. We're running sideways on the Bollinger Bands. I get this nice wick on the crush it zone, and so we get into this trade here. Now let's talk about here on the 10-second where we enter into that trade. Here it is on the 1 minute. We get our entries on the 10-second. You guys know how to do this already. So let me move this down here, open this up, and we'll show you where we got in. So one of the things I like here is I got the 360, right? We got the EMA is on top. They are running horizontal, so it's showing me that the price is more bearish or bullish than bearish. So we get down here. I still got to wait for my confirmation. We get above the 9. I got in right here at this other side of the crush it zone with the starter position, and I decided to add in a lot earlier. So I didn't wait for the 50. It was a little bit far away. We're a little bit early in the day. Usually later on in the day when we get, closer to 10 o'clock, the 50 SMA is a little bit closer down here as things kind of digest a little bit. So I got in here. I didn't get a lot. I already, made well on Apple. So I, took about 30% of this and scaled this out here at the 50 SMA, scaled the rest out somewhere in here. And then I got out of that trade here. Let me show you on the 1 minute actually, because I always tell people once you enter the trade on the 10-second, don't look at it anymore. Don't look at it at all. It's going to end up juking you out. You're gonna get faked out on it. Go to your 1 minute at this point and look at your scales here. So this was the 50 SMA. Got scaled out right in here. A little bit of a pullback. I got a nice move to the upside. I was flat by the time we got up to the zero line on the bullish side. So that was my trade on Tesla. A really nice trade. And that trade, once again, that trade took place at about 9:39. And that was a nice $7 move, okay? If you play the crush it zone strategy with us, you know that these happened every single day on one of the Mag 7s that we trade. Sometimes we get a lot of them, and sometimes we only get one. But we had a couple yesterday, and I'll get into the rest of those here right now. But we had that crush it zone trade on Tesla. And let's go to AMD. AMD did not quite get to the crush it zone yesterday, so we didn't really have a play on it. I didn't have any kind of continuation. A little bit choppy in my opinion for me to take the trade. Sideways trading in the morning, so there was other things much better to trade than AMD, but I did have this daily level marked out here. And let me open this up here, and I'll open this on the 5 so you can see a little bit better. Come down into the 5 here, outside the Bollinger Bands, a nice wick outside the bands, and you get a nice move to the upside. So once again, I wasn't really watching AMD. I was looking at crush it zone trades. Apple was my play of the day yesterday. And if you were focused in on AMD, you should have certainly got this this daily level that I had marked out in here too. So that was AMD. Going into today, AMD's been weak for quite a while, and it's not my main watch. So I don't know. I don't know what I would do here. Maybe just look for crush it zone trades, but I don't see anything right now that I would want to trade on it. I always look for price closest to key levels at the open to see if we can break and retest in the bullish or bearish direction. And I don't really see anything on AMD. I see some sideways trading here. So what I would want to do here on AMD is most likely just kind of break out of this range here. And you can see that we did kind of break out here in the pre-market. And then yesterday we moved back up into that range there. Didn't have a level marked out here. So once again, probably just looking for a breakout there. And also I could put in this this wedge formation we got right here too, and see, wait for a breakout in here on the hourly, and then see how that pans out on the smaller time frame. So that would be AMD. Microsoft. Microsoft is just more of a long-term trade for me. I buy stock in this one here in my retirement account. I don't really trade it too much as far as day trades go. Once again, the main ones that we watch, Tesla, Meta, and NVIDIA, generally have enough setups during the day that we don't really need to look at any other stocks. So, but looking at the crush it zone, we didn't have a crush it zone. It's a little choppy in here for continuation of the 5-minute RB, but we do have this candle at 10:05. So we come to 10:05 here. Let's see, where's it at? Is that the right day? That's the 5th, yep. And here it is in here. It's just a little bit choppy, a little bit small there, guys. Sorry. Open that up. But yeah, I just don't see a whole lot of anything there on Microsoft. And then Microsoft, for me, added to my retirement account. I think I talked about this a few days ago. I was waiting for Microsoft to get down to this daily level right here. We got down there. And then I would really add quite a bit more if we can get back down. This is on the weekly, you guys. So it's on the weekly. So if we can get back down into the 348s, I'll be adding into my retirement account with some of the earnings that I've made over the last 3 or 4 months in my Roth. And I have another key level down here. If we were to get down this far, I'd probably really load up on Microsoft, but I don't think that we're going to get down this far, to tell you the truth, but you never know, looking at this level down here. But right now, main focus on the retirement account is if I can get Microsoft into this zone area right here. I think that's going to be a key level of support. And, you know, it might not be bad for a swing trade when we get down there. So set your alerts if we get down into this zone area between 365 and 350. If we get into that zone, I would expect some kind of bounce off of that key zone to the upside. So it would make for a really good swing trade. Amazon. Amazon, as far as, let me get this up here. You can see we did get a crush it zone trade at about 10:55. And we do have this kind of retest of the ORB at about 10:20. I'll look at it here on the 1 minute. We got it right here. This is kind of a retest zone. Looks a little choppy to me, you guys. So, you know, you got this move right here at about, like I said, 10:20, 10:22-ish. You get a move to the upside. Retest again. You got VWAP there for a move to the upside into the crush it zone, right? So we look for those continuations. Once again, wasn't really on my watch list, but there definitely was a play there if you were paying attention to Amazon. And then the crush it zone play we had was a decent crush it zone play that took place at about 11 o'clock. And we had a $2.46 move, roughly about a 1%, 1.2% move on Amazon. Now, where would you enter into this trade? Let's go over to the 10-second. I could tell you that, you know, if we're going to enter in the trade, we enter on the 10-second. I'm going to take the candles out here so you can see this a little bit better. I like to take the candles out because my entries are really based on the moving averages, okay? So if I can get a good moving average in here, so what I wait for is, I'm at the crush it zone right in here, right? You can see this. I wait for the 20 to cross. I wait for the 9 to cross the 20. I got the 20 crossing the 20 EMA crossing the SMA. So I would take a starter position in here, just a small starter position in case it doesn't work out. Once I get below the 50 SMA, you'll see we'll most likely get some kind of retest. You know, and then again, maybe not, but usually we'll get a little bit of a retest. Let's see if we have that here. Where are we at here? So we don't get one on this particular instance, but what I like here is also we have the 360 cross. It's all bearish from here. We have this nice crossover, which indicates a move to the downside, and there you have a nice move to the downside on Amazon. Now, once you're in the trade, do not try to play off the 10-second anymore. You're going to fake yourself out, okay? So where are we going to start scaling this trade if we got into the Amazon trade? Okay, if you're getting in right in here, you're most likely going to trade. You know, I used to trade at the 0.618, but I thought, you know what, if the move is going to go, it's going to go. And, you know, I felt like I was giving up a lot of money at the 0.618. So depending on which ticker I'm trading, if it's Meta or Tesla and I'm up $100 per contract, I'm definitely going to be trimming off of those. But generally now I like to wait for the 50 SMA on the 1 minute, or I like to wait for the 0.382 now to get a trim in here. Now, if I put the 0.382 in here, I'll show you where that comes up. Let's see here. There we go. So you'd have, I would probably trim at that, you know, the 50 SMA there. Get another trim in here. And it really depends. If price action is dropping crazy, I might hang on a little bit longer. Okay, you got to learn how to manage trades. A lot of times when we lose trades, it's not because we don't know the setup. It's because we're poorly managing the trade. So you really need to take profits. You need to understand how to manage it. And you want your winning trades like this one to pay for your losing trades. So that was another reason why I decided to wait a little bit longer on my trims. Like I said, I felt like most of the time, probably 90% of the time, I was getting better moves if I would wait just a little bit longer. And I make more money, which pays for my losing trades, because my losing trades are right around 15%. I will not go more than 20% on a losing trade. If I'm more than 20%, either one of two things happened. Either A, I got into the trade way too early on anticipation, or B, it just didn't work out and I get stopped out, and then I get maybe the opportunity to re-enter the trade. So that would be Amazon. Now, if you hung on to your trailers, now if you have maybe 3 or 4 contracts, you're most likely going to be out of the trade right about here. And that's okay, because you're building a small account. What you don't want to do, right? What you don't want to do is you don't want to overexpose yourself, okay? So if you overexpose yourself in the trade on a small account, you could give up the opportunity to gain money. So if this decides to go back the other way again and go up again, then you're going to lose that opportunity. So you really got to capitalize on the opportunity. And as you grow the small account, if you had 5 or 6 contracts and you scale most of 3 or 4 of them down here, you can save that extra contract for, a move here and maybe another one down here, like I said. And if you get to the point where you have 25 or 50 contracts, you're most likely going to be getting rid of, 25 contracts in here and probably half of that, so another 10 in here, and then you can start saving more contracts as you move to the downside, okay? Or as you move through the scales. I don't know if anybody has any questions on Amazon there, but that's kind of how we play that crush the zone trade. And like I said, they happen every single day on one of the tickers. And if that's your main focus, if you're concentrated on it, you're going to do well with the crush the zone strategy. It's about a 70 to 80% win rate. And we do get really kind of a better percentage on that because we do have indications on here that will keep us from getting into trades in situations, certain situations. So like I said, if we don't get these crossovers and when they're crushes, we don't get into the trade. As data, when I keep my data 70, 80% win rates, usually the data counts these as stop outs. But we know human intelligence, right? HI, human intelligence, we know that we're not going to get into that trade until we get the technicals that we need. So, all right. I also have that video, Trading Like a Robot. Check it out if you guys haven't seen it yet. It's good. It'll kind of keep you, the mechanics in and kind of keep you emotionally attached to the trade so that you're not a psychomaniac day trader. All right. Amazon, you can see we got this key level right here. I'm not going to really put it number 1 on my watch list, but we'll see what happens. I do have my levels marked out here. If there's a crush zone trade on Amazon and it's the only one that I'm seeing and we're at one of these key levels, definitely going to check it out, okay? NVIDIA is one of the ones I'm going to have on my watch list today. I feel like we have a nice window to the downside. If I look at the daily up here in the upper right-hand corner, let me make this chart a little bit bigger. I feel like I got some room to the downside a little bit here on this one. So we got a level we can put in right here. And, we have this gap zone right in here also. So it kind of goes in with this gap zone here. So what we'll do is we'll actually just mark out this gap zone here on NVIDIA and we'll watch that, okay? And now we know we got a really decent level there for a possible bounce. But I think we got a big window to the downside. So I'll be watching NVIDIA for a possible move to the downside. I was watching yesterday, but it really wasn't giving anything up. It was kind of choppy and all over the place, a little bit ambiguous. But today, so what would I be looking at? Definitely looking at this, where's it at here? Break and retest. So I'll be looking for this, what level we have here? The 113-ish roughly. So I'll be looking for this break here, retest and move to the downside. Same thing I was looking for yesterday. We didn't get it. What I like about today is we are a lot closer to that level. So when we get closer to that level, most likely, we could see maybe a pop and a drop also. But we'll keep that on the watch list. We'll see how it lines up with the crush it zone strategy also. And hopefully we get a play on NVIDIA or Tesla or Meta. So let's go to Meta now. Meta, once again, I've been making lots of money on Meta for January. It's just been a really good volatile stock. It's been very strong, very bearish. Meta, the last couple of days, I had this ascending trend line. We had a nice move off of it. And we also had this nice move a few days ago off the 50 SMA. We were in the room talking about this one, and that was a really kick butt move worth a lot of money. It was almost $200, $300 per contract. $2, $3. Really, really good move if that's what your focus was. We also had this nice move yesterday on the break of the 638.02 level. 2 days ago. And then we had a retest yesterday for a move to the upside, and we'll talk about that here right now. We'll open up the 5 so you can see this on the 5. So you can see we're range trading for the most part, and we don't break out until later on. We do get the retest and that 5 at 1 o'clock. If I'm an ORB, but I'm done trading by this time. So, but you do have this nice retest or this nice move off the key level, the 638-ish. Is that what I have there? And we have the Bollinger Bands going sideways. We have a nice injection candle, and this is a really good move to the upside. It's, it's not huge, but Meta pays very, very well. And so you don't need a lot of movement for on Meta to make really good money. And that was a $6 move right there in Meta, which is probably about $3 to $4 per contract. Okay. Looking at that on the smaller time frame here, once again, we're outside the Bollinger Bands, full candle. Get over here to the 10-second. All these candles outside the Bollinger Bands. So we use this technique a lot in the crush zone, you guys, but you can also use these at key levels, but they got to be, really good key levels where you're going to expect some support and resistance. You can't just put any levels in here on the lower time frames and expect to get these nice moves. Okay. We got a really nice move on this Meta a couple days ago off that 50 SMA, and that was a really key move, that daily 50. And that was deep outside the Bollinger Band. So you can use the same technique where we get to this level right here on the 10-second. This is where we would get our entry on here. Okay. Our entry is right here where we bounce off this level. Okay. We get above the 9 EMA and we get the crossover in the 20. So we enter in, maybe enter in the pullback. And this is where you might have, got in a little shy right here is I usually like to add to the position right above the 50 SMA, and you can see that this candle just took right off. So you would have not gotten an add, but the starter position would have paid extremely well. If you wanted to take the pullback here to VWAP for the move higher, you certainly could have taken that. And this here was also about a $5 move on Meta. I also had that 360 EMA crossover, which is really notorious for nice trades on Meta and Tesla. So watch out for these. Okay, and if you're in the room and you got questions on that, we'll talk about that. But that's on the 10-second. All right, so that was a really good move on Meta yesterday. Now, I think we had a crush it zone trade, did we not? So later in the day, I wasn't here, but we had a crush it zone trade take place at about 12:55 with the retest of that crush it zone and the 50-day, right, for a move to the downside, a little bit of a move to the downside at 1321, 121. If we look at that on the 10-second now, let's get over here to the 10-second. Here we go. Once again, we talk about the fact that, we need the price to get below the moving average of the 9, and we need to have some channeling here. We don't get any crossovers quite yet, but this is what I like right here. You get this nice crossover right in here, and I see the EMA starting to cross here also. So this is showing bullish at the moment, but then we turn bearish and we get that retest right here at the crush it zone. A little bit of an overshoot, but you look at the wick on the 5 and it's a really nice candle. Here we get the moving averages moving over really nice. You got the 50 SMA nice and close. So you have a nice entry right in here. It does consolidate for a few minutes and it does grind to the downside eventually. And gives you a little bit of a move here. So it might not look like a big move here in the 10-second, but if I draw this out here, you got your entry right in here. This here is a $3 move later in the day on Meta. Okay. Now I don't usually trade later in the afternoon, but once again, if you're here and you're trading, this was a pretty decent setup on Meta. Let's take a look at Tesla. This is one we just went over this one here. So what's the plan for today? Definitely going to keep it on watch. I do have the 50 right here, the 50% of the gap zone, what they call the election gap. So we'll watch that here. I'll look for, maybe the retest have a VWAP move to the downside. I'd like to see that gap get filled at some point, and I think that Tesla can possibly move deeper to the downside. Now on the daily here, I have this ascending trend line. Let me open this back up here so you can see this a little bit better. I do have a buy signal. I did get a buy signal a couple days on it. We did get this little bit of a move up, but I'm wondering if we're not going to get a deeper move to the downside. I'll be careful on this ascending trend line I have here at, just kind of goes through the zone right here. And so I'll be careful on that, but I'd like to see a nice move possibly today or tomorrow to fill that gap. And if we don't get it, we don't get it, but I'll be watching for that. And like I said, I'll be looking at VWAP. And if we get a crush it zone trade today that lines up with that zone, then we'll definitely possibly be taking that trade. So that's what we have for today, guys. If you want to know more about crush it trading, check out the links below and come. We'd love to have you in the room. All right. With that said, we got the market open in about 30 minutes, and we'll talk to you guys soon.